Topology is like the family member at Thanksgiving that will definitely be bringing up the election at some point in the night. You can try to ignore it as long as you want, but at some point someone is going to be yelling at you. And eventually there will be consequences, and your projects can end up looking similar to the sacred geometry your coworker was making after another 70-hour work week. If you're a refined game developer such as myself, however, then you don't have time to worry about your model being presentable or functional. The funny Markiplier Weeaboo game had many of these design philosophies, and I was fascinated by this toothbrush that was seemingly made up of over 5,000 polygons. For reference, this shotgun model I recently made for my game has about 500 faces. Now, a lot of sources claim this is the heaviest file in the Yandere Simulator game, but this is a misleading statement. There are plenty of models with absurdly higher poly counts, and viewing the game in wireframe mode is a violent experience.
Yet another peculiar model. Plain sphere with a whopping 19,800 faces.
Here's what that sphere would look like. I don't know how that's possible.
The toothbrush itself isn't even actually the heaviest file in the game. It just has one of the worst topologies in reference to the size and importance of the asset, considering it only has 4 times less polygons than the character models from The Last of Us Part 2. In reality, the geometry of inanimate objects most people will never see is not all that important, but it is very hilarious. So let's get started. It seems the handle itself actually contains the least number of polygons, and the shape of the handle seems to resemble folded up aluminum foil. It's likely that the model was remeshed from an even higher polygon count at some point. And we'll be doing the same by starting with the basic shape and then subdividing it until the little goblin in your computer begins screaming for death. Then we'll apply it and decimate it down to a more acceptable level.
Now this is pretty good, but the Yandere toothbrush actually has like some kind of weird geometry going on in the middle here. We're gonna actually have to come in and manually screw up to get this kind of like gaping dragon character design.
Now the bristles seem to be the most insane region, and are likely where the other 5,000 fucking polygons are located. At first I thought they might be individually modeled, but the way they bunch up makes me think this was made with a hair modifier.
This is too thin. Gamers are never gonna accept this level of quality. Oh shit!
We combine them together into a single model so we don't get confused as to which part of the model is which and have a cerebrovascular accident. Now I'd like to put the model to the test to see how it functions in an actual game environment. We'll be testing how impactful it is on a game's performance. I'll be importing it into my own project, Rat Smasher. Here in Unity, I gave the toothbrush the ability to be picked up, and I also gave it a mesh collider. This will more or less double the 5,000 face count, so that each face itself has a collider. But that's a small price to pay for true immersion. Now, one toothbrush isn't going to cripple my computer's memory as effectively as we need to get the proper test results, so we're going to need a way to mass produce and also keep track of how many of these abominations there actually are, which is why I created a test scene where at the center we have the demon core, only instead of radiation it emits an infinite amount of poorly optimized oral sanitation devices. And at the top we have a counter of how many we've created. We don't need code to check if they have been destroyed because that isn't possible. These babies are built to last, and the density of the geometry on these bristles probably results in these toothbrushes having similar properties to Mjolnir. Before testing, Rat Smasher is running at above 60 frames per second. I held down the button for a while, but it still wasn't giving me any results, and after reaching about 600 toothbrushes, the game was still having trouble dropping below 60 frames. So we're gonna have to push harder. I continued generating brushes for about a minute until we reached 1,784, and we had accrued a sizable pile of weeaboo grade toothbrushes. Not bad for my decrepit shitbox I haven't cleaned in years because I'm afraid of what I'll find if I open it. We dropped below 15 frames per second, and I thought this might be the limit, but after the pile had time to settle, it actually began to recover. Insulted, I grabbed a nearby shotgun and prepared to show them who was really made in God's image, and Unity did not like that. I also attempted to spawn in some rats to get them to sprint through them like one of those Oblivion NPC videos, but I couldn't get them to move and most of them fell out of the map. I'm blaming the toothbrushes because it can't be my code at fault. That would be ridiculous. I managed to get one of them to sprint through the pile at Mach speed and send some of the toothbrushes cascading around the room, but this seemed to affect the game less than with the shotgun, which means these are more than likely liberal toothbrushes and I no longer want anything to do with them. Thank you for watching. Subscribe so you can see me recreate the 70,000 polygon Starfield sandwich next time.